Hi guys, it's Tanya. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you 10 historical fiction books that I have on my to be read list. I haven't gotten to them yet, but I am very excited about those. I have so many more, so probably you will see part 2 and part 3 and I don't know how many parts more, but today we're going to talk about only 10. So let's jump straight into it. And the first book I want to talk about is The Other Part of Life by Kim Eblon Whitney. And it's a young adult historical fiction novel based on a true story of the liner St. Louis, which was infamously known for bringing over 900 Jewish refugees from Germany to Cuba in 1939. And in this book we follow the story of a few characters. So the first character is a boy, 15-year-old boy, whose father was a Jew and he was imprisoned. His mom was a Christian and now she's left alone, so he doesn't really want to leave Germany because he doesn't want to leave his parents. Another character is a young girl, 14-year-old girl. She is on the liner with her family. She's so excited. She is determined to enjoy the voyage and she's excited to start her new life in Cuba and maybe probably later in America. And she was not the only one. A lot of people were excited about it. But unfortunately life, war and immigration laws of that time got in the way and for some reason the liner couldn't unload in Cuba. And we will see what happens next. I'm very excited about the book. I anticipate it to be very emotional and very hard, but because stories about Second World War always are, I feel like people should remember it. People should remember and they should know how terrible war is. So it wouldn't happen again. So I really want to read the book and I really want to get my hands on it. Next book is The Story of Kao Yu by Peter S. Bickel. And I don't really know much about the book apart from the fact that it's a historical fiction book set in China. And apparently it has some fantastical elements to it. It's a story of an aging judge who is traveling through rural China and of a criminal whom he meets. I don't really know more, but I don't need to know more because it's a short book. It's supposed to be a short stories probably collection set in China. I like books set in China. It's a rare setting. I don't read a lot of historical fiction books with that setting, so I'm very excited about this book. Next book is this Marlowe But by Michelle Butler Holler. And this is an account of the last months of life of a British playwright, Christopher Marlowe, who allegedly, according to historical records, was an English English agent working on European mainland. And so he was working there at a time when the tension between Protestants and Catholics has arisen. Sounds like fun historical fiction about spies. Isn't that cool? I really want to get to this. Also on Goodreads I saw a lot of really good reviews about the writing style, about the story itself and about the research that has been put into this book. So I am excited. Book number 4 is The Wolf and Watchmen. I'm not sure how to pronounce the author's name because he is from Sweden. Nicholas Nat Akdag. I'm not sure, I apologize. But yeah, so this is this book and I'm still thinking about it because it seems very eerie, it seems kind of dark, and even though I think I would like it, I would enjoy it, but I would also be scared, so I don't know, I'm afraid. So I'm still thinking about whether I should read this book or not, but I'm still including it on my list. It's a historical fiction crime and mystery story set in Stockholm in the 18th century. And the story develops around the situation when a mutilated body was found in a city lake. And an attorney decides to make it his last case because he is also sick, terminally sick, and he decided it's gonna be his last case. Also, we follow another perspective, and it's a young man who is a son of a doctor. But apparently he is not in a very good situation because he is constantly writing to his sister and he documents his life, he documents his good days, his bad days and his experiences. So I don't know what's gonna happen to him. And the third perspective is a young lady, young girl, who was committed to a horrendous workplace because she was accused of being a whore after upsetting a local priest. So these three stories are going to connect somehow, and I don't know what happens with the mystery. It sounds interesting. I really want to read. Plus, set in Stockholm. How many books have you read that are set in Stockholm? Personally, myself, not many. I really want to read it, but also it sounds kind of dark. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. If somebody read this book, please let me know. Book number 5 is The Familiars by Stacey Hall. And it's a historical fiction set in the 17th century England against the background of the frenzy of the Pendle Hills witch trials. I mean, book about witch trials and witch hunt. How cool is that? But we follow a story of two women. So one of them is a young noble woman and she is with a child. However, her previous pregnancies were not successful and her doctor is saying that she will not survive one more labor. Eventually she meets another girl whose name is Alice Grace. And Alice Grace is a midwife and she promises this noble woman to help her deliver a healthy baby and also stay alive. But a few days later, Alice gets into custody and she is being accused of being a witch. And the fact that the main characters and like Alice Grace and also this noble lady and some other characters are actually real people who actually existed in history makes it even more interesting to me. It makes me even more excited about the book. So I really want to get my hands on this one as well. Next book is The Watchmaker of the Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley, and it's a historical fiction / fantasy book set in 1883 London. And we follow a story of a young man who lives in London and one day he returns home and he finds this golden watch on his pillow in his apartment. And later on, 6 months later, this watch actually saves his life. And he is determined to find the person who made the watch. And eventually he comes across this Japanese immigrant, Keita Mori, who seems to be lonely and kind and harmless, but something happens and the events suggest that he has his own secrets. And yeah, it sounds interesting, sounds fascinating. I mean, fantasy interwoven with historical fiction, how cool is that? Next book is The Corset by Laura Parcel, and this book sounds a little bit like Elias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I haven't read the book, but it just sounds kind of similar. I don't know, I want to see. But this historical fiction book is set again in London, in Victorian London. It is told from two women's perspective. One of them is a seamstress who is currently in prison and she is accused of murdering her mistress. Another character is a young lady from a good family who is interested in phrenology. And phrenology is a study of kind of human skull shape and how it affects people's personalities. So what this lady is trying to do, she's trying to determine whether the seamstress actually committed the crime basing on her skull shape. I don't know how it works, but it sounds interesting. Apparently it was a thing in 19th century phrenology. I haven't heard of it before. It sounds kind of dark, it sounds gothic. And I like those things, especially the gothic setting and like this eerie thing, if it's not too scary. So I'm determined to give it a try. Also, I really need to read Elias Grace as well. Really want to see that book. Book number 8 is The Glovemaker by Anne Weisgarber. I apologize if I mispronounced the name again. So the story is set in America in 1880s and the main character is Deborah. She lives alone. I mean, she has a husband, but her husband is working somewhere and she's awaiting his return from his work trip. She lives in a small, isolated community. And everybody in this community are Mormons. Mormons? this religion. And one winter night, a man shows up at her doorsteps, and he is running from police, I guess, and he asks her to help him to hide. But she is not supposed to help him, because if she helps him, the whole community will get into trouble. It sounds interesting. Also, in the premise, it is said that it's like a story of moral and like human relationship and what is right and what is wrong. So sounds interesting. I really want to give it a try. Number 9 is A Gathering of Ghosts by Karen Maitland. And I don't know much about the book, but I just really like the title. The title sounds really interesting. What I know about the story is that it is set in Middle Ages. And again, I haven't read that many books about Middle Ages. What happens in this book is that a small community in England, and they have this mystical well that is supposed to cure any disease. And so now this well gets kind of famous and everybody wants to find it, and so the community is trying to protect what belongs to it. The reviews on Goodreads say that it's like a really interesting and eerie and fascinating read, and there is really a lot of praise for the book. So I want to give it a try and to give it a read. And the last book that I want to share with you today is The Poison Bed by Elizabeth Fremantle. The story is based on true events and is set in the beginning of the 17th century England in the court of James I. The story revolves around two characters who are a married couple, and they are being accused of poisoning a court official. And the couple is kept in the tower awaiting their trials. Again, it's supposed to be eerie, it's supposed to be kind of dark, mysterious, and very interesting. So, and even in the fact that it's based on the true story and the characters are actual people who existed, fascinates me even more. So I really want to give this book also a read. And that was it, 10 historical fiction books, very exciting historical fiction books that I want to read. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what historical fiction books would you recommend me. What were your favorites? And thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon in my next videos. Thank you. Bye.